morning, good afternoon, YouTube. Tire Metalhead Weatherman here, kind of straddling that line this morning, so to speak. But we have a enhanced risk of severe weather today. We're going to kind of get a little bit more in depth with this one because I haven't really done so lately. I've been trying to enjoy the break, but still keep you guys up to date on things. The pattern is going to be getting more active, so you will be seeing me a lot more. So if you want to get these videos out to more people, because I hope these are useful, and I feel like they are, hit that like button, hit that share button, and if you've been watching for a little bit or if you're new, hit that subscribe button. But anyway, we're going to dive into today here. We see the enhanced risk region here. We see some activity ongoing already, especially over towards Louisiana. These vibrant red colors are some pretty strong storms. There actually is a severe thunderstorm running over towards south central Louisiana right now. Mainly looking at 60-mile-per-hour winds with that, just based off of what I see on radar here. Can't rule out hail with it. As of right now, the tornado threat's going to be pretty minimal. Later in the day, that is likely to change. This is not a tornado-driven enhanced risk, by the way. This is actually more of a wind and hail-driven enhanced risk. However, there is a very sneaky tornado threat within a particular corridor that we'll be going over a little later. And it would not surprise me if a 10% area does emerge later today with a hatched risk. And I'm going to get into why I believe that could be the case. So that being said, let's go ahead and actually get into things. We're going to start out by looking at the NAM 4-kilometer. Technically it's called 3, but the link says 4. But so yeah. Anyway, enough of the technicalities there. Let's go ahead and get into things. This is a little bit of what we're seeing right now. We're a little bit behind on the timing here, but it's really not until we get towards about 2 o'clock where we start to see some real storm initiation beginning to emerge here. We see a little bit of activity over here. Most of these are not really super cellular at the moment, at this point in time, but these do evolve a little bit later into the evening. By the time we get towards 21, 22Z, which would be about 2 o'clock central for these guys, that's when we start to see some telltale signs of a couple of isolated supercells, a couple of line segments. By this time, though, the tornado threat's not high. Really, all the parameters aren't really set in place, but this is really what's likely to be the first little bit of when things start to really pop off here. Start to see a squall line or QLCS begin to try to form here around 23Z, and then off to the south here we can see another little line segment developing here. You always have to keep an eye on these backwards C shapes right here, because these are often indicative of damaging winds. But also you have to watch out for these little comma heads like what you see right here. These have the potential to produce tornadoes. In this case, it's not really being picked up on here. You're seeing more of the linear threat with this storm. But even so, the D cape isn't impressive with this. Starting to nerd out again. Let me not fall into that trap. For the most part here on the NAM 3-kilometer, we're mainly seeing more or less line segments, but out ahead of this, and this is the really interesting part, especially once I switch into some other parameters here in a minute, you'll see what I'm talking about when I'm referring to the tornado threat. It's kind of an interesting setup, and multiple models are in not necessarily disagreement with each other, but it's just interesting. Like, there are certain things that make this a more conditional threat. With the mixed layer cape here, the numbers are going to be very high today. We're going to be seeing a very explosive environment. Like around here over towards Louisiana, for example, where you see the pink, we're at over 4,000 joules per kilogram in certain points. Large area of 3,000 plus joules per kilogram. That's considered an explosive environment for severe storms, and you can even see some high cape values getting close to even 6,000 over here towards southeastern Texas, towards the coast here. So some ridiculous numbers here. You can see the sounding. Look at that, 6,600 joules per kilogram. You don't see that often. I'll even underline that for you. Look at that. It's crazy. And this is where I get more concerned, is because this number right here is usually indicative of hail and damaging wind potential. This is called D cape. I don't normally see that number get to 1,000 real quick, but we are at 1551 there, so that is a telltale sign that we could have some big problems. Even if today doesn't yield a lot of tornadoes, not saying that it can't, in fact, there's a good chance that it could, but even so, regardless of whether it's hail damaging winds or tornado, there could be some serious damage going on here. So, of course, we'll be going live because of that. But even as we go later into the evening, a lot of that cape is going to hold pretty well. Some other models have this a little bit more aggressive, some of them don't, and I don't have really the time to go over them all. But we have a very explosive environment nonetheless, and that's really the best way to summarize this. An explosive environment, and there is some low-level wind shear available, and this could yield itself towards tornadic development, but the timing of it is the real issue. Some of these forecast models have it coming together, others don't. NAM is actually one of those that doesn't, or the NAM 3 kilometer that doesn't, but oddly enough, the NAM, for example, is another one that actually does, this is actually a sister model that's based off of that. But here's the funny thing. Even though when those storms are firing, when we look at these higher values over here, like what we see over here towards Arkansas, look what sounding I'm about to get here. PDS tornado and a significant tornado parameter of nearly 5. And this is a sounding that is pretty conducive to tornadic development. So again, like I said, you may be under a severe thunderstorm watch and you may have to treat that like it's a tornado warning. But when I look at this QT chart and I see tornado or PDS tornado, that's a little bit of a head scratcher to some of you guys on the outside looking in. But that just shows this is indicative of an environment that's still very capable of producing tornadoes and potentially a strong one. So the best thing I can tell you, and also again, damaging wind threat is definitely there. D-cape of nearly 1,000. It's a big red flag right there. Anyway, deviating again, I'm nerding out, and I'm sorry that I am. Well, actually, no, I'm not. But this is just indicative of the environment that's in this region. And there's also another area over here towards Missouri where you have another PDS tornado sounding. Not trying to scare anyone, but all hazards are on the table. Even though the tornado threat it's not a hatched risk, that can easily change. So I'm trying to make sure that I'm doing my part and helping get the warnings out here. And this threat persists for a little bit here, but by about 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, the tornado threat is starting to diminish. And by about 10, we should be pretty much done with it. We'll be on live for this, of course, so we'll do what we can to help get the warnings out. I've been doing a little bit extra work on the stream, so hopefully if you guys do pop in, you enjoy it. But that's pretty much all I got for you on this video here. Appreciate you guys, anyone that's been watching lately. We've been having trouble with YouTube's algorithm as of late. We're not able to get out to as many people. So sharing these videos are going to be crucial as the pattern starts to pick back up. That being said, enough rambling from me. This has been Tire Metalhead Weather. Man, wow, messed up my outro. Of course, like I said before, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't, and share the videos. Comments are always open. I often respond to all of them. Very rarely do I not. But anyway, I'll see you guys a little bit later today. Until then, take care.